Hey friend, if you've been told that menopause is the reason for everything going awry, why everything feels harder at this stage of life, why your weight doesn't budge, your energy is off, why you can't sleep, and your gut is a mess, I want to share a slightly different perspective today. And this is not to dismiss menopause because it's a real thing, but it's actually to take some of the blame off the body and off of the label of menopause. So, hormonal changes during perimenopause and menopause are very real. I acknowledge that. I've lived through that. You probably are too if you're watching this video. So we know that estrogen shifts, also progesterone changes, the ratio between those two creates some really interesting dynamics. Cortisol levels and our sensitivity actually increases because of those hormonal changes. So it's very real. And if things feel different, it's not in your imagination. They are truly happening internally on a much broader scale. But what I see time and time again is menopause, this term, this stage of life, gets blamed for just about everything. And that things are actually revealed during this phase of life. And what I mean by that is menopause doesn't just, suddenly break down the body or the body gets broken because it enters into menopause. It really exposes our system to what has been accumulating and our body has been compensating for years leading up to this phase. So things like blood sugar regulation, our tolerance to stress and exposure to stress, our digestive capacity, the inflammation that we have, those are all contributing factors. And then earlier in life, hormones often buffered a lot of those symptoms or what we would get through those sensations. Remember that our body uses symptoms as signals, right? So earlier in life, those signals are kind of buffered or they're not as loud. So what happens in midlife is that buffer gets thinner and the symptoms get louder or they feel louder. So these symptoms don't just appear because the body is failing per se or broken or something went wrong. They appear because they just can't hide that imbalance that easily anymore. I hope that makes sense. This is often why I believe women that I work with will say, I didn't change anything, but my body did. My body is not responding the way that it once did. And what actually changed is our resilience to all these factors and accumulations that happen during life. So here we find when our sleep patterns are affected or disrupted, it has a much larger impact. So sleep matters much more. Same with our blood sugar swings. They have a much larger impact. Our body feels it much differently, of course, with the hormone changes as well. And stress can linger a little longer or feel like it has more impact, and it does. So when these things, these mechanisms, these functions aren't actually supported, weight gain, brain fog, fatigue, bloating, mood changes, they all show up much more quickly and loudly. So this is why I personally don't approach menopause as just something to tackle or to fight or to override and bust through. When I work with someone in midlife, and that's predominantly the people that I work with, mostly women, some men, we look at the entire metabolic picture as a whole. You may know that our bodies are holistic. They don't operate, different organs and functions don't happen in isolation. They happen in unity and in a synergistic fashion. And this is really what we're addressing. So I use testing, metabolic function testing, that can determine blood sugar regulation, our tolerance to stress, our stress response, our digestive capacity, and different organ functions, enzyme production, etc. So we're looking at metabolic function as a whole. And this is really everything comes down to our metabolism, right? If we think on a very broad term, what metabolism is everything that we take externally from the outside and we bring into our organism, our body, that gets transmuted into usable energy, from food to sunshine to water to sleep. All of that is affecting how we feel and how we operate. So, of course, I have a structure that I follow, and often what I consider is a relatively short renovation period, like we're renovating, probably the most important room in your house. I would hope it's your kitchen. The same happens with your body. So this renovation or reset phase can really calm inflammation and restore clearer, uh, more profound and direct communications between hormones and also metabolic signals. So the goal is not, or my goal, at least when I'm working with someone, is not to fix per se menopause. It really is to support the systems that makes menopause more visible. And that again comes back to metabolic function. So when we shift the focus this way, something really kind of magical happens. Menopause stops feeling like a life sentence or something that we need to suffer through. And our health stops feeling like it's a constant uphill battle or a grind or restriction. So instead of asking now, like, how do I fix, I'm using air quotes if you're not watching the video, fix, quote unquote, my hormones, what if instead we ask a deeper question and allow it to be something more like, how do I support my body now, given this new landscape, this new territory, this new stage of my life, and this dynamic body that has changed over time? So, if you're in this stage and your midlife years have felt a little bit more challenging, more difficult, harder than you expected, I I want you to hear this really loudly and clearly, I hope, that you haven't missed the boat. It's not too late. It's truly not. Any time is not too late. It usually just means that your body is asking for a different kind of support than what it's been or has had access to up until now. So that when we can be very specific and intentional with the shifts that we're directing towards our metabolic function, the body is pretty fascinating and wants to operate in the most, um, I'm going to say optimal again. It wants to operate in the most optimal way that reduces the amount of expenditure of energy. It wants to conserve energy and it wants to thrive. It really does. So when we can give it the proper tools and the foundation and the structure to do that, it has the foundational tools that it needs to heal and repair itself, because ultimately that's what your body truly wants. So I hope that you can feel like this stage of life can be far more manageable if you are struggling, and perhaps to offer you a shift of perspective of how you look at this stage and understand that menopause is not so much the problem. It's not the thing to blame. It's my hope that hearing this message will give you some relief today, that your body is not working against you. It is always, always, I assure you, working for you. It's trying to communicate to you by giving you signals, which are symptoms, and your or our job is to decode what the body is trying to say and then give it the foundational tools that it needs to heal and repair itself, because it can do so naturally. I assure you, I see this all the time. So let me ask you, is your body asking for some different kind of support? Do you feel that in your bones, that something just slightly needs to be tweaked or to be changed? And that is the things that we can work with and for. So that's it for today. I hope that this message lands in a way that is inspiring for you of how we respond and treat and hear our body. If I can say anything again that you can take away on repeat, I'm in fear of me repeating myself, is your body's always working for you.